Hello, everyone, from the Matt Morris Digital Studio here in Fresno, California. This is the Beem and Dean Show, episode 86, with the sports director of KSEE24 and CBS 47, Scott Bemis. I am Dean Schiro. Scotty, all's good in the world again. We've got Brooks Koepka back in the PGA. We've got an Australian Women's Open set, and yours truly predicted it. And Bill Belichick's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, do you have a guaranteed winner? Because you have Rybakina and
a guarantee.
Right? That's where you love sports gaming, right? At that point?
Yeah, just one will pay a little better than the other, but we'll go over that shortly. So, Scott, what are your thoughts on our opening topics here? Take your pick.
I love how you said all is good in the world. Brooks Koepka is back on the PGA Tour, you know?
I'm partial. I love the man. I really do.
The church bells should be going off behind us. It's exciting for the tour. I'll say this. Brooks has got to start playing better.
Right.
The last year and a half, he's not played very good golf. And so we'll see if he can kind of pull it together. I know there's a train of thought out there, right, that maybe he wasn't completely focused because of LIV and this and that. I don't know about that. I think those guys on LIV are still, grinding and still trying to improve their game. Sure, the competitive environment isn't what it is on the PGA Tour. I will admit that as far as the depth of field. But
I think the players would admit that too.
Yeah, but at the top of the leaderboards, at the top of those fields, there were still some, world-class players.
Of course.
Brooks has got to prove that, to me at least, that he is still a top 20 player in the world because he hasn't played like it in the last year or so.
We got some interesting news this week on the PGA also. Former Masters champion Patrick Reed will be rejoining the PGA Tour later this year. Your thoughts on Patrick Reed?
Well, let me ask you. Let me throw this back to you. Is Patrick Reed... Where does he stand as far as like moving the needle in the world of golf for you?
No, I'm not. I mean, not moving the needle, but it's the second man now heading back heading back to Papa. Let's just say, right? The first son went back to Papa. Now the second son's going back. How many more are going to go after this? We'll see. So I think it just seems like there's a crack in the there's a little crack in the LIV dam, a little leak, but
absolutely. This is another bad sign for LIV. Although my guess is with Patrick Reed, I have a feeling, because he didn't come out, he wasn't contrite like Brooks Koepka was. The way they've handled this has been completely different.
Yeah.
Brooks Koepka from the beginning, he never sued the PGA Tour. He just was pretty honest, saying, I'm going here for the money to set me up for the rest of my life and everything else. And he remained close with many of the guys on the PGA Tour.
Yes.
He's pretty well liked on the PGA Tour. I think Brooks Koepka is. He's played on Ryder Cups and things like that. I mean, Patrick Reed has as well, but for non-golf fans, Patrick Reed is a pretty polarizing figure in the world of golf. Some guys I think are okay with him. He's obviously very good. But he's had some moments that have kind of rubbed people the wrong way on the PGA Tour as well.
Yeah, a few rules controversies.
Yeah, some rules controversies.
Live clean in place and little things like that. I remember hearing about some of those.
Yeah.
But my thing is just it's another guy now taking that step across that line.
No doubt about that. But I would say the PGA Tour getting Patrick Reed back, to me, doesn't necessarily change the overall value of their product that much. If he can play well, it's interesting because he's kind of the villain usually in the scenario. So sometimes it's good to have villains in a way. But he's also got to kind of consistently show that he can, be up there every single week on the PGA Tour. I know he won last week in Europe, so he can still play, obviously. But to me, the big fish, that are out there, there's two of them, right? It's Jon Rahm and it's Bryson DeChambeau.
Absolutely.
If the PGA Tour can convince one of those guys or both, if both come back, then to me, this whole thing is over and LIV is pretty much dead.
Yeah, I agree. I think DeChambeau obviously being an American is a little bit more key with obviously the PGA Tour being heavily based, obviously.
Or maybe I should say this. The PGA Tour will have then won that battle.
True.
LIV may exist on some level just because it'll continue to exist maybe.
Right.
But yeah, LIV is kind of, they're trying to keep their head above water now.
Without drowning.
Yeah.
And I think LIV made a huge mistake when the PGA Tour was trying to negotiate and bring the two together. And anyway, that's just a side take. All right, really quick. So Australian Women's Open's final set. So we're good there. And the men's final will be determined tonight. Interesting situation, though, with the Djokovic match the other day. Was it Musetti?
Yeah.
The Italian. So Musetti had to forfeit after being up 2-0. That's a tough break. I mean, if you're Novak Djokovic, you're like, okay.
Well, I don't know if you saw
Is that like a get out of jail free card, Scott?
Yeah. Did you see Novak's comments afterwards?
Yeah.
I mean, Novak handles these things well.
He does.
He his on-court interview, he basically said, I was going home.
Yeah.
I was going home. I didn't deserve to win today.
Yeah.
The man who deserved to win did not win today
Right.
because Musetti dominated the match for the first 2 sets
Right.
and then had to retire, as they say in tennis,
Right.
which he was physically unable to continue. It's kind of weird. It was like one of those like oblique things where it wasn't like there was some crazy stretch or this and that where you could say, oh, that's where he got hurt. It was, it seemed like he just got hurt on a serve sort of too.
Interesting. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I just saw the score and I thought maybe the match got suspended due to either weather or darkness or whatever, but they have lights there. I just thought there was something weird going on. Then I read the byline that he had that Djokovic had advanced. So now we've got the big two still in there, obviously. Yeah. And then you've also got is he Russian Zverev or what's
Zverev? Alexander Zverev.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, Scotty's my tennis reference. So
that's that. I mean, these are great semifinals. I mean, this is what you want.
So you got Alcaraz playing the Russian, right?
Yeah, Alcaraz versus Zverev, and look. I've learned my lesson. I gave out a play tried to take a shot on Alex de Minaur, the Australian, against Alcaraz. I'm probably not going to be wagering against Sinner or Alcaraz anytime soon in any of the majors. It's not a winning proposition.
It's difficult. And
so those guys are the clear favorites in both of these semifinals.
Sure.
But these are legit opponents that they're going up against, obviously with Djokovic, on one side.
Yeah.
But there is a difference there. I mean, these guys are basically younger versions of Djokovic, right? And so I would never rule out Djokovic completely in a scenario like this because he still is Novak Djokovic. He's won 24 titles, Grand Slam titles. And then Zverev has had moments where he has played like the best player in the world for 3 sets here or 4 matches here in a stretch. He's just never been able to kind of continue that level all the way through. Big, tall, lanky, player.
Yeah.
He's not Russian, actually. He's German.
I thought he was Russian. My fault. My apologies.
No, he's German, and he's got a big serve because he's so tall, and so like if you're looking for maybe a guy who might be able to give a problem to like an Alcaraz or something, to me it's somebody who has to have a big serve because they got to get free points. And that's what I discovered in that de Minaur match was, de Minaur could hit 8 good balls in the rally,
right?
But eventually Alcaraz is hitting 9, right? And eventually Alcaraz over the course of 3 sets, over 3 out of 5, is going to win that match. And because de Minaur can't get enough free points on his serve. His serve wasn't big enough that his serve was always in jeopardy the entire game. But with Zverev, he's got a big serve. It's going to be tough for Alcaraz to break him.
Yeah, big, powerful man.
But trying to break Alcaraz is going to be a whole nother deal. But yeah, those are 2 good semis if you're into tennis.
Yeah, excited. I always love the Australians to kick off to the major season. So, all right, and then the final topic before we get into coming in hot. I mean, this could be a coming in hot, actually. It's been a coming in hot for other people. But Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer with 8 Super Bowl rings under his belt, 6 as a head coach. Scotty, your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, obviously he deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think there's anybody who disagrees. I even think the people who probably voted against him would probably agree with that. I just think there's other reasons that have come into play here. People are human. He didn't always treat the media that great. Some people probably have some slight vendettas, and they think, Bill's going to get in eventually, right?
Yeah.
Either way.
Well, he'll get in eventually.
And they're probably thinking that.
Sure.
And so maybe, I heard there's somebody from the Kansas City Star or something like that was saying that he voted for some other people, not because he was anti-Belichick, because he knew that Bill was going to get in at some point, and he wanted an opportunity maybe to try to get a couple of the other guys who are on the bubble to get in. And so I don't know. It's the Hall of Fame, so I don't get too wrapped up in this, right? Especially if it's somebody that's going to get in there eventually, especially if it's somebody that's still coaching at this point. So, sometimes there are consequences in a human sense, right? Do I think that should affect a voting for a Hall of Fame? No, not at all. But keep in mind, these are people who are voting, right? And people remember how you treated them, or they remember certain things. And, it wasn't always just a squeaky clean image, right? With Bill Belichick.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. So, but there's no question he's going to get in. Absolutely. So it just makes it for an interesting topic. All right. Well, let's come in hot. All right, Scott, we got a couple interesting coming in hot topics. We'll start with the local one. As I always say, all roads lead back to Fresno, California. Fresno State receiver Josiah Freeman was reportedly tampered with by the Ole Miss staff, the new Ole Miss staff. The reason why this story is so interesting is because we heard the same thing from Dabo Swinney about a linebacker who went to Clemson, transferred in, started going to school, and then transferred out, and now is at Ole Miss with Pete Golding. So, but for Josiah Freeman, I mean, it's great for Fresno State in terms of the talent that's here in the Valley. We all know that, but your thoughts, as our sports director.
Well, coming in hot, right? Just a hot take, hot topic, something we're hot about. Here's my reaction to this story, Dean. Tampering's going on, right? All over college football. They don't have a handle on it. For sure. But I mean, just the Clemson story, Dabo felt the need to actually come out and just air all this stuff out there in front of everybody.
Conference.
Yeah, he basically, I guess, outlined exactly everything that had happened, the timeline of everything as far as, Ole Miss basically trying to steal one of his players. Did they eventually get him?
Confirmed they got him.
Okay, they got him eventually.
They got him. This kid was in class at Clemson and then ended up going back in the portal and now is at Ole Miss.
Yeah, so I actually don't know what the exact rules are or if there are even any rules on this right now. And that shows you where the state of college football is, that there may not even be any rules to address. Now, supposedly there's been about 90 cases of tampering that have been processed by the NCAA. But when you think about that, 90 cases, that's not a lot over, the last 3 or 4 years of NIL or whatever.
And nothing legal has gone to court yet, Scott. Even the Mensa thing got settled out of court.
Okay.
So we haven't really gotten to a court of law on this. Until we do, I think it's going to be the Wild Wild West, just like what you're saying.
Well, I think the NCAA is just kind of hands off on everything right now and just wants the government to get involved. Basically, they're desperate for that because every time the NCAA gets involved or tries to take a stance, they end up losing in court. And so I don't blame them for kind of being hands off a little bit with regards to all this. But here's the interesting thing. After all is said and done with this, tampering's going to go on. It's going to continue to go on. If there's no rules, it's not shocking. Coaches are going to be doing this everywhere, and some coaches, honestly, you might even say, they're probably smart to do this. Like, if they're not going to get in any kind of trouble and they can improve their roster.
Right.
I mean, if they don't have any moral compass, I guess, or worried about that.
Right.
I mean, or they think everybody else is doing this too.
Sure.
They're going to keep doing it. But my biggest take on this is.
Sure.
Fresno State has a receiver that Ole Miss wants badly, Dean.
Love it.
And that is a great sign for the Bulldogs.
I agree. I agree. I completely agree with you. And we saw how talented Freeman was this year in certain games. He was very effective. I'd love to see him get the ball a little bit more from a quarterback who can sling it maybe a little bit more this year. But it's good to see. So, all right, topic number 2, Scotty. The Cleveland Browns have a brand new coach. It is former Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken. Scotty, is Todd Monken an upgrade over Kevin Stefanski? Kevin Stefanski is a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. He got Cleveland, I believe, to a playoff position at one point, or they were on the verge. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan right now, are you just kind of scratching your head, just kind of wondering what's going on?
Well, it's just so hard, Dean, with these NFL coaching hires, and because if you're a fan base, you want something fresh, you want something new, something exciting. But when you have 9, 10, however many openings there were there 9 in the end or 10?
Something like that, 9 or 10, I believe.
Yeah.
And there's still some that are vacant, right, at this point, or are we all full?
Who does anybody? I don't even know who needs to hire. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think they might already be full
now
at this point. But I mean, a lot of coordinators are still being hired in this and that.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only so many guys that will get a fan base excited, right? Maybe John Harbaugh would get me excited, right? Even Kevin Stefanski on some level, considering that he's had previous success in Cleveland. If you're able to maybe dip into the college ranks for maybe you can pull Kurt Cignetti out of there. Maybe you could pull Nick Saban out of retirement, something like that. And I'm not saying that these necessarily guys are all going to work. It's just, as a fan base, you're kind of desperate when you go through some tough times and you've probably been clamoring for a different direction, and you finally make that coaching change, and then you end up with Todd Monken. And nothing is Todd Monken. You know what? I always give guys a chance and the benefit of the doubt when they're hired.
Sure.
I mean, he had some nice success for a while with the Ravens as their OC.
He did.
But it's not a hire that in any way is sexy whatsoever,
there's
right?
No splash.
And it just feels like the Browns. And then also, the best part of the Browns right now is what? Their defense?
Yes.
Yeah. And Jim Schwartz is the leader of that defense.
Right.
And he wanted this job.
Yes.
And Jim Schwartz, by the way, would not have moved the needle either if the Browns had hired him as head
Correct.
coach. But here's the problem. Even though Monken may want to keep him in the and the brass with Cleveland probably wants to keep Jim Schwartz because that's the best part of their organization and the product they're putting on the field. I don't think Jim Schwartz wants to stay in Cleveland anymore because now he feels like he's been passed over and he's taking offense to the fact, second time apparently.
Right.
And so I don't know, you're coming in if you're Todd Monken and like it feels like the deck's already stacked against you because first off, you know, it's not perceived as a sexy hire. Secondly, you're going to be losing, you know, your D coordinator, it appears, which is the best part of your team. And so I don't know, it just feels like already we're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the one thing about Monken, though, obviously, you know, he's known for his relationships with quarterbacks and what he did with Lamar Jackson. So now he gets a Pro Bowl quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. Sorry, I had to say that.
I was going to say, now he has to find a quarterback.
Now he's got a Pro Bowl quarterback at his disposal. So we'll see what happens there.
Would you, by the way, if
there.
Deshaun Watson is healthy, how do you handle that if you're the Browns? What do you do?
I don't know what they're going to do, Scotty. I don't know. And then you've got what's his face? The kid from Oregon, Dylan Gabriel, on the bench with his upset girlfriend, and it's a mess. It's a mess with a capital M there in Cleveland.
Do you give Watson a shot to be the starter again?
I don't see him on the roster. I just do not see him on the opening day roster. And there's been rumors about that it was just kind of a contract thing, but we'll see. That's why they play the games. That's why they finish out the regular season and they finish out the off season.
Could you make an argument though? Forget all the off the field stuff, all that stuff. That if Deshaun Watson is healthy and can somehow rediscover, where he was when he was with the Texans, that would give the Browns the best shot to possibly be a playoff team.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
so I wouldn't be shocked if they give him a shot.
Sure. I mean, I think they're going to go with Shedeur at this point. I think they're going to kind of build their foundation out there, but it's going to be a long road to get there. All right, I got one more topic really quick here for coming in hot. We're going long today, but this is a fun one. I got a little graphic here. So Rutgers, Rutgers University, like that, they joined the Big Ten in 2014. So in the last 10 plus years, reportedly, they have lost $500 million since joining the Big Ten. The Big Ten, by the way, has the second largest television contract. I believe Rutgers gets over $60 million a year just in TV revenue. So, Scotty, this is really bad fiscal management. Obviously, they have a brand new athletic director at Rutgers, and she's got her hands full. But how does this happen? I mean, without having inside information here, what are your thoughts on Rutgers?
Well, I just think we see the success stories, right? We see the Indianas, we see the Alabamas and the the Ohio States and the Michigans and all that stuff. Even the USC's on some level, Oregon's, where it feels like they're winning championships in sports and they're bringing in revenue and I don't know their exact revenue numbers, but I'm guessing that, they're able to, at least break even, if not bring in some sort of profit. But this is a side of college athletics that exists that we don't really talk about much. That some of these other schools who have to try to keep up, because if they want to be competitive in the Big Ten, they probably got to spend a lot of money, and in the old days, it used to be about facilities and all that stuff. And, that's what you were spending your money on to try to attract recruits. And now, it's more about the NIL. Right. It's more about the coaching salaries, all this stuff. Sure. You would love them to be more fiscally responsible with regards to this. But when you've got a fan base and you're feeling that pressure to win, I don't know where all the money went, exactly. But
it's listed in this article, and there's several articles. A lot of it was just overspending when it comes to coaches' salaries, NIL, and facilities as well. Rutgers did recently redo their football stadium. Their NIL's been crazy. Their coaches' salaries have increased, while their ticket prices have not. They've stayed flat. So that's part of it. But $500 million is a lot of money, Scotty. That's not just the football program, though. So it's probably some of this is the travel in the Big Ten.
Oh, no doubt.
So this is probably part of this coast-to-coast conference. Well, Rutgers might be the first, and Cal are the two that maybe are first, and UCLA too, cracking a little bit with the new structure of these conferences.
Well, and I think unfortunately this shows that, to me, long term, I don't know when it's going to happen, and I'm not hoping that it happens, but I just don't know how this current model that exists for college athletics is sustainable for every athletic program that exists. A lot of these schools have 20 plus, athletic programs, right?
Yeah, all the Olympic sports and stuff, and they're traveling cross country,
and
just
those
like everyone
aren't
else.
bringing in any revenue.
They're
unfortunately.
not. They're non-revenue sports.
They're non-revenue sports, and I love that those athletes get those opportunities.
Right.
I would love for it to possibly continue in the future, but I think you could see a point where the university is not necessarily supporting those sports on the level that they are now. That either they go non-scholarship or they become sort of like a club, sanctioned hybrid or something like that.
Yeah.
I've been kind of waiting for the shoe to drop a little bit on that, because it feels like with, the revenue sharing that's going on and everything else, that how is this going to be sustainable? Taking Fresno State, for example, with all the, other sports that they have in play, I think it could be sustainable if those sports are kind of self-sustaining, obviously.
Right.
But I don't know if that's going to happen.
Right, but imagine if Central Florida joins the Pac-12 and then Fresno State swimming then has to travel to Orlando, or the UCF has to come to Fresno, It's just, that's the way these conferences are just so massive these days. And you've got Big Ten money here and they're crying poverty. Imagine with the smaller conferences, even the Big 12 and the ACC, which do not bring in the television revenue of the SEC or the Big Ten. So
yeah, another reason why if the powers that be got together, there's no reason why these conferences have to be the same for every sport. That football Big Ten and basketball Big Ten should not be the same as softball Big Ten, or swimming Big Ten. Right? It should be those, and then the other minor sports should all organize into their own conferences regionally.
Right.
Like if the water polo programs, like Fresno State, has a women's water polo program.
Right.
And they play, pretty much all the teams in the state of California in their own kind of separate conference, right?
Exactly.
And that's the way it should be.
Going
Going forward.
Yeah. One last thing, the longest coming in hot we've ever had on this show. We got one more. All right, Scotty, 2 weeks off between Super Bowls. This has been a tradition now for many, many years. Love it or hate it?
Hate it.
Hate it, right?
I hate it. To me, this is the most boring week ever. I hate the week before the Super Bowl. All this momentum, you're building, and let's just go play the game.
Me too.
We don't need a week off before the Super Bowl. It just drives me crazy.
I hate that I have an opportunity to go out and clean my garage this Sunday because there's nothing else going on. I got to get out there and start throwing stuff away and trying to make pass because the garage is a mess with all the Christmas stuff not put away. I got to put all the Christmas stuff still away. We always hold it out through January, but now I don't have. I have a legitimate reason to do it.
Well, I was gonna say, and if nothing else, let's change this so Dean doesn't have to put those Christmas things away.
Thank you guys, and whatever support I can get, I appreciate.
By the way, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back because Lord knows I'm fall a little short in many departments when it comes to helping my wife with some of these duties. But I did go out in the middle of a college basketball Saturday, Dean, and helped put the Christmas stuff away on Saturday. So,
I'm proud of you.
So I scored some points.
So again, you're an example and a model to people like me, and we'll try to get it done this Sunday. All right, well, let's get into our money plays. All right, Scotty. Well, we'll go quickly on this because it was a bloody weekend for Scotty this week.
Every time I raise the unit, the amount that I'm betting, it goes poorly.
0 for 3. Go ahead, Scott. Your recap.
Just Louisville. I don't know what the heck happened there. They were absolutely destroyed by Duke. I am excited that I do have a Duke future play to win it all at 10-1 that I made, over Christmas break when I was in the state of Nevada.
Nice, love it.
So I'm feeling very good about that after watching that Duke team just absolutely destroy a very good Louisville team there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know what the final was in Virginia. Did they end up covering that? They went to OT. They were down the entire game.
I can look it up. I'm not sure on that
not
one.
Important.
But I knew you were dead with the Louisville one. And let's get into tennis a little bit. So.
And then tennis, I mentioned earlier in the show, I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to be betting against Alcaraz or Sinner here anytime in the near future. I thought De Minaur would be able to sneak out a set. First set was tied at 5, and De Minaur did come close to getting a break point opportunity. I thought maybe I had a chance there. If De Minaur could have gotten a set, I probably would have won that bet, but just didn't happen, and Alcaraz is just too good. And then obviously took a shot on the money line. That was to try to kind of get back in the race with Dean here. Dean's got a lead on me, so this is a monthly competition. We start with $1,000 and trying to beat Dean. And so, considering this is the last Beem and Dean of the month.
By the way, really quick, Virginia ended up winning by 3.
Oh, okay. So I came up a half point short on that. I almost got lucky on that one because it went to overtime.
I just had to throw that in really quick before we get to
Virginia was down the entire game.
Bad karma gone, good karma in. Go.
Okay, all right, here we go. All right, so last plays of the month. So I'm going big.
He's going big.
I'm going big here.
All chips in the middle.
I'm not the amount that I'm betting doesn't mean that that's the confidence level. I'm just. If I'm going to make a bet, I want to try to beat Dean, who's got a big lead on me.
He's going for it.
So I got to go big here. Florida Atlantic's been a very good team. this year in the American. Coming off a loss at South Florida, and the score looks bad because they ended up losing by like double digits. They were up for, I think 25, 26 minutes of that game, and they've been very good overall in the conference and on the road. Memphis, I can't figure out. They're kind of struggling.
They're not
been a weird team this year, so I'm going to move that line up a little bit there and take it at minus 148 and take 3.5.
Okay.
And then I found a teaser. Again, like I'm kind of searching with the binoculars trying to find plays here. I'm going to grab Northwestern against a Penn State team that is just kind of reeling at this point. They're still winless in the Big Ten, going on the road again at Northwestern when you're struggling.
This will be at Northwestern, this game?
This game's at Northwestern, so I'm going to move it down from 7.5 to 2.5.
Got it.
And then I'm going to take Michigan State in a rivalry game, bump that up to 6.5. I think that game will be super tight against Michigan. That one's on Friday night. That'll be a good one on Friday.
This game will be tomorrow night, yes.
So I'm going to bump that up to 6.5. I figure that will be enough in what I figure to be a very tight game throughout.
Yeah, and that Michigan team coming off the euphoria of knocking Nebraska from the undefeated ranks as well. So I definitely like that play. I did pretty good. I honestly went 5 of 6, and I got lucky in the BYU game. I want to point that one out. Arizona had an 11-point lead with 1:30 left, and BYU somehow managed to get this thing down to a 3-point final. So I survived on that one. Hit the money line parlays and hit a non-money line parlay in the NBA. And then we already kind of covered Duke and Louisville. I felt really confident about that Duke team, and I was really surprised by the score. And then Nebraska getting 10.5 at Michigan, I thought was taking candy from a baby there, but it doesn't always work out that way. I want to be proud, even though I don't know how to pronounce names in the Australian Open. I've got both finalists for the women's. I got lucky on that one. I knew that Sabalenka was going to be there. I did not know if Rybakina,
yeah.
I didn't know if Rybakina was going to be there, honestly. I took a flyer at 6-1, so she's got a chance. So,
Dean, by the way, you didn't get lucky there. Honestly, like luck to me connotates that at some point they were going to be out of there. They've been dominant the entire time. They haven't lost a set in a while, so that was a great play.
Yeah, that was an interesting stat I saw, by the way, that neither of these ladies have lost a set, I believe, in their last 6 matches or something. So, and then again, just trying to go with low-hanging fruit here, pending Sinner and Alcaraz getting to the final. I think this is what everyone would love to see in Melbourne as well. So, $12.57.95 so far, including $85 in pending.
Good job, Dino. I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you so much.
That's impressive.
So instead of sitting on it, let's go for it a little bit. Not as much as my friend did, but I got another moneyline NBA parlay tonight with favorites. Give me the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Hornets, the Rockets, and the 76ers. 10 to win, 48. Okay, so Colorado's playing Iowa State today, and I know Colorado basketball probably better than anybody. I bet pretty heavily on this one. So give me $50 on Iowa State to cover 13.5. The spread, Scotty, 17.5. I think they'll cover that number, but I played it a little bit down. Colorado basketball has not been good.
Iowa State's tough at home, man. They get that crowd going.
5 in a row. We started 2-0 in the Big 12 this year, and everything was looking good for Tad Boyle. But we've lost 5 in a row, including 3 of them at home. So this one's in Ames, at Hilton. So give me 13.5 for the game. And then a $25, this is a 2-line parlay here. 7.5 points second half. Iowa State winning the second half by 8. And then Iowa State and Colorado being under 80.5 total points in the second half. The Colorado
What's
team.
What's the thinking here on the second half?
That the Colorado team, I just feel like will kind of pack it in. They're going to be down probably 15-20 in the first half. I hope they prove me wrong. I hope my Rams would prove me wrong, which they didn't. So I'm going with that game. And then I've got a little parlay here. Give me UT Arlington, Illinois, CSUN, Northern Colorado, and UC Irvine, all moneyline favorites tonight. And then one NHL play. And then I have a play on that game tomorrow night. I just took Michigan State plus 2.5. I got a little added number there with a little worse juice at minus 135. So 25 to win, 48 there. I just feel like Michigan coming off the big win, now having to go to East Lansing and play Tom Izzo. Anytime you play Tom Izzo, it's always tough. So, Scotty, about 15 seconds. Your thoughts?
Wait a minute. Michigan State plus 2.5 minus 135. So it's 25 to win like 20 or something, right?
Yeah. Maybe I had my number wrong. I thought it was, but anyway.
Because they're a favorite there.
They're a favorite. I'll redo that number.
By the way, I might have to throw, because I don't even know if it's mathematically possible with your Rybakina and Sabalenka bets there for me to get you. I might have to see how much I have left in the account after my 2 bets, and maybe throw one more like a round robin your way to try to pull something off.
For Scott, this is Dean. This has been the Beem and Dean Show.